Well, good morning. I'm Murray Newlands, and my panel are
Mollie Spilman, Chief Revenue Officer from Criteo.
And Dave Rusenko, co-founder and CEO of Weebly.
And what do your companies do?
So Criteo is a performance marketing platform for e-commerce companies. We work with large global e-commerce players like Walmart, all the way down to smaller, kind of mid-tier e-commerce players.
And what does your company do with those companies? What do you do with those brands?
We help them generate incremental sales through retargeting or remarketing programs.
And then for those who don't know, what does Weebly do?
Weebly is really the easiest way for anyone to create their site or online store. We've had over 30 million entrepreneurs create a site or store on Weebly so far.
So how has that changed the way entrepreneurs go about building an online business?
So I think so what we see today is in the process of starting a business, technology is often the hardest challenge. I mean, and that shouldn't be the case. So what we're really focused on is, as people are starting out, I mean, setting up your website or your e-commerce store is just a nightmare. And it can be so difficult. So our goal has been to create a platform where it's just incredibly easy to use so you could get back to focusing on what really matters, which is building your business.
And how has that changed over the years?
So back in the day, I remember when we started Weebly, it was really Dreamweaver and front page if you didn't know how to code. And when we started Weebly out of a college dorm room at Penn State, I remember seeing some of our friends trying to use this, and it was just a complete disaster. So over the years, it's the tools have gotten from complex to just continue to get easier and easier and easier to use. 3 weeks ago, we launched Weebly Carbon that we're really excited about, and that brings huge advancements, especially on mobile. So be able to create your site or edit it on your mobile device, on your phone or your tablet.
So Mollie, you've been in digital marketing for 17 years, from Yahoo on. How have you seen things develop, and what's exciting right now?
Given my experience in digital, it always feels like there's a year of something. And so for the last 3 or 4 years, it's been the year of mobile. But what we see now and what I see is that mobile commerce and what actual sales and actual business are happening on this thing is really taking off, especially for companies who are really committing and innovating and doubling down on mobile. And it's not just the technology, it's the consumer behavior. You basically have a store in your pocket all the time to be able to browse, to comparison shop, to interact with loyalty programs for e-commerce, to interact with advertising. And so mobile just in general has really changed the whole marketing landscape for the better.
Now, obviously, you concentrate a lot on retargeting. How do you do that on mobile effectively with multiple devices, with people going from desktop to mobile? How are you making that journey successful?
So it definitely is one of the challenges because technology can enable a lot of different targeting ability, but you really have to respect privacy. So we work with our partners to anonymously create an ID basically for one consumer across PC and across their mobile device so that we know it's the same person and we can anonymously target and serve messages and engage with them across screens, but it's all with our clients' explicit consent and with consumers' explicit consent.
David, you were saying that 50% of the transactions now on your 30 million customers are mobile. How has that changed the dynamic of the user flow and the design of e-commerce stores?
Yeah, absolutely. We have 250 million people every single month now that visit a site on Weebly. So we have a lot of data to look at, and it is nearly 50% now. We're almost at that halfway point, and that's a number that's been increasingly rapidly over the years. But half of people visiting your site now are doing so from their phone or their mobile device, and that's just incredible. So the days of a mobile site being an optional component of your web strategy are over. These days, I think, as you're looking into the future, it's more of a question of, is the desktop site going to continue to be relevant, or is the mobile site really the most important?
And obviously, you've got we've got Christmas coming up. For a lot of e-commerce stores, that's up to 70% of their business. How are you optimizing to make sure that will transact through mobile? And what are you doing to guarantee that success?
Yeah, so all of our e-commerce stores have just this fantastic mobile shopping experience, where really something that you would, if you designed it mobile first, that's exactly how you design it. And I think specifically relating to the holiday season, what you want is you want a platform that's going to be able to scale with you. So the last thing you want in the holiday season is to go down, crash, or get hacked. And when you're on Weebly as an e-commerce platform, with a base of 250 million people every month that visit a site, you can have a lot of confidence that your site will be up and transacting during that busy season.
And Mollie, how do you work with your clients through the Christmas season? And what do you do to increase their sales through that period?
So we usually start 6 months in advance consulting with our clients about how to maximize sales for the holiday season. And it's about planning ahead and being nimble, working across all platforms. So being able to work across display, mobile web, in-app, tablets. And so setting up all of your websites or your mobile sites or your apps to be ready to scale, but also in terms of marketing budget, be able to be nimble enough to be able to double down on those channels that are overperforming for you so you can generate the most incremental sales.
So what are the challenges you're seeing right now that your clients are having?
I see one of the biggest challenges is really with so much focus on mobile and so many different screens and so many different ways to interact. Facebook just brought up a whole nother area of video and all sorts of things. It's really hard for a marketer to access and analyze all that data. There's so much data coming at them, which is great because you have more insight into what your consumers are doing, what's resonating with them, what's relevant, how do you sell more of the right things. At the same time, it's really hard to figure out how do you attribute sales, how do you measure and track, how do you figure out, okay, the sale happened on this device, but the engagement started over on this device here. And so how do you plan for that? That's really a challenge that we see our customers have. And then on top of that, we have a lot of clients who are just organized in different ways. And they come to us and they say, what's best practice? And the reality is that there isn't. Are you global? What's your geographic footprint? People have silos still, social, mobile, web. Then there's people who just have digital all in one bucket. I think it's too early to say there's a certain best practice for organizing your company, but there's a lot of things that have to be accounted for. And I think a lot of our clients or a lot of e-commerce players in general really are struggling with that and trying to overcome that, although, being successful at the same time.
So David, also how are you seeing, because obviously you'll have very small companies with 1 or 2 products, up to huge companies with lots of products. What challenges are you seeing and how are you building to meet those?
Yeah, we actually have good perspective here because we have a very wide range of customers. We have, I was actually in Europe last week for our European launch, and one shop that comes to mind is Whistle and Bango in London, and so they're creating these customized bangles with the postal code, kind of have pride for your postal code. And these 2 ladies are doing this, so they still have their full-time jobs, but they're doing this on their commute to work, right? And so that's one really great example, I think, of that small business, that entrepreneur getting started. We have that all the way up to PayPal.com. A good chunk of PayPal.com is also running on the Weebly platform. So we have sort of a really good perspective. I think the thing that we see people struggling with the most is really the ease of use and just the complexity of the technology landscape. So when you're getting started, think about all the different pieces you need to integrate. It's the email marketing and the customer support and just all around the map, the retargeting, everything, and nothing really works well together. And so, really creating a simple, easy-to-use platform so that anyone can use the technology. And with our Carbon launch, we've also launched an app center where now, as you're looking for all these different pieces, you just click, it's a one-click integration, and all that data comes together. So you have one centralized place to run your business.
Now that's interesting you talk about that. app community. You've got a lot of competitors across a lot of different markets, and it seems like once you get to a certain critical mass of customers, the obvious play from a business perspective is to become a platform, start integrating other types of company. What are the opportunities for entrepreneurs, and how is this going to play out from the end customer perspective?
Sure. Interesting you mentioned competitors. We've got plenty of competition. Talking again about how we're different, I'm going to start sounding like a broken record. But again, it's really down to the simplicity. For PayPal, that was their most important objective, was to have a platform that everyone across the team could use. And then again, for us on mobile, with the Carbon launch, it's now possible to create and edit your site from your phone. Whistle and Bango, on their morning commute to work, they're working on their site. Entrepreneurs now aren't at their desk all day. We don't have that traditional 9 to 5. So those are primarily two areas. But then again, talking about the apps, the developer community, I do think that's something that you really start to focus on as you achieve a certain scale. But when you're just starting out, you don't quite have the critical mass yet. So to the question of, is that something you want to focus on out the gate when you're starting your company? I think that's something that takes time as you build up that critical mass.
And how are you partnering with other companies, both of you, to increase the success of the journey?
Well, we work with a lot of data companies, right. So there's a lot of our big clients who have DMPs, or they have other third-party data analytics providers that they're working with, their attribution companies. So we partner with them to feed our data so that as a marketer or CMO, you have one view. We also work with content companies, so optimizing their sites with better product content, product feeds, that kind of stuff. So we work with partners in a lot of different categories.
And David, I was reading you've raised $30 million. You're already super successful. I was reading you haven't spent that. Why did you raise it? What's the strategy? And if you weren't going to spend it, are you now getting pressure from your board as to why did you raise it and what are you going to do with it?
Right. Fair question. So 18 months ago, we raised a $35 million round at a 455 post from Sequoia and Tencent. And the business has been cash flow positive since 2009. So we actually haven't spent any of that money yet. And it's not because we don't want to. We certainly intend to invest in the right opportunity. But for us, what's most important is building our business in a sort of deliberate, thoughtful way, and investing that money in the most efficient way possible. So I think there's a certain amount of grow big and blow up, right? Like type of mentality sometimes out in Silicon Valley, and we've just been very focused on growing the business in a very deliberate way.
What do you see as the next steps in improving the customer journey? Is it in working with other platforms? I mean, we've had Facebook on, we've had Pinterest on. Is it in full integration with those, better retargeting through those? Or is it, do you think, in the checkout area? Or where do you see as the gaps, and where can be improved?
Yeah, I think that the next frontier is really having one fully integrated platform to manage technology. Our goal is to help more people become entrepreneurs by providing a simple technology platform that takes all of the headaches out of, the technology headaches out of starting a business. And so I think we've made good progress towards that with Carbon, but I see a future in a couple years where you have one place to go, you can manage everything, it's fully integrated, and you can check on your business at any time from your phone, from your laptop, from your tablet. It works completely cross-device. In fact, we also have a watch app that will tap you when you get a sale. So imagine this world in the future where all the different pieces of technology that currently cause you so many headaches, it's just all integrated into one place, and it all works seamlessly together, and you can stop spending so much time stressing and working on the technology piece and spend a lot more time working on building your business.
So this is the marketing stage, but obviously there are a lot of startups, young businesses in the room. What would be your advice to those young companies getting going? Where would they focus on improving their e-commerce journey and acquiring those initial customers?
I think the biggest opportunity is mobile. if you don't embrace mobile, I mean, more and more, 35% of all transactions happen on this thing. I was talking to one of the senior people at Shop Direct, and their Very brand, for example, has grown their mobile sales 51%, so over 60% of all their sales happen on this. And this is a company that used to be a catalog company and now is fully digital. So if you don't embrace mobile, and that doesn't have to mean an app, if you don't embrace mobile, you're just going to miss out on sales and you're going to miss out growing your business.
Do you still also build a desktop e-commerce store? Do you do both? Is it necessity?
I mean, why limit your opportunity to sell things? That would be my advice. So I would say don't ignore desktop, but really this is the future.
And David, what about you? You have lots of startups, I'm sure, starting on your platform every day. What do you see the most successful ones doing, and what would be your advice?
Yeah, I think talking about startup advice more specifically than strictly just e-commerce, I fundamentally believe there are only two hard problems in starting a company. One is product market fit, right, and the second is building a fantastic team. And I think that's the kernel of what's hard about starting and growing a company. And so I think spending 100% of your time focused on those two things would be a really smart move.
So obviously you started your company and it's grown really fast and really successfully. How did you do that without raising until much later on?
Sure. There's sort of this misconception of the 5-year overnight success. And that happens actually with most startups, and that certainly happened with us. I wrote the first line of code in 2006. It probably wasn't until maybe 2010 or 2011 that people would start to consider us successful. So, I think the journey is quite long. And again, I think it's really about initially just spending all of your time on that product market fit, and focus on that relentlessly. And then once you've solved that, then focus on growing the team.
How did you get your first customers?
It's been almost entirely, it remains today almost entirely via word of mouth. So our focus has been, it's that mythical build it and they will come, but it's always been just focus on building a fantastic product, and then once you've achieved that, make it better, right? And continuously make the product better, and word spreads.
And what were the things you learned along the way about onboarding customers and getting that successful conversion?
I think user testing is very important. Put someone in front of a computer, look over their back, don't say anything to them. You have that temptation to be like, no, click here. But just watch them use your site, and you'll see within 3 to 5 people, all of the issues will become apparent. So you only need 3 to 5 people to see the major UX issues. So just test it from a potential user perspective and fix what comes out.
Thank you very much to both of you. Thank you very much, and thank you to the panel. Thank you.
Thank you.